with Truth on a Treadmill. And again, I've waited quite late to do my exercising, but I'm doing it, and I hope you are doing it as well. You can see I'm kind of in the dark here with my light shining over my head. Hopefully you will be able to see and hear this video because I'm excited about what I'm learning right now. I have started reading The Pursuit of Holiness by Jerry Bridges, and it's as much a blessing to me to read these stories and writings as it is for whoever's listening, because I too am in need of just a perspective on holiness in my life. I was looking up holiness a little tonight, and some verses really stand out. Sometimes we think of holiness as something that only is relegated to the Old Testament, but that is definitely not so. It is in the Old Testament many times. Holiness is the concept of holiness or holy is like over 700 times in the scriptures. But Leviticus 20:26 says, "You are to be holy to me because I, the Lord, am holy." So our holiness is based on God's holiness, and we are wanting to be like our God. And then it continues, "For I, the Lord, who brought you up from the land of Egypt to be your God, thus you shall be holy, for I am holy." And then in the New Testament, 1 Peter 1:15 and 16, "Be like the Holy One who called you. Be holy yourselves also in your behavior, because it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy." Now this book that I'm reading, hopefully you'll get on to my website at carlamarie.siterubics.com and listen along to The Pursuit of Holiness. You can also find it on YouTube if you forget the website. But in reading the first chapter today, Jerry Bridges, the author, was bringing out three main points that he wanted us to consider as we went through the rest of the book. And the first one was, our first problem is that our attitude towards sin is more self-centered than God-centered. And he was going on to say that we look more for our own victory over sin than we look to God being offended by our sin. Our sin being a slap in God's face. We're more concerned about our personal victory. And I have to say, yeah, a lot of times we don't want to fail. We don't want to fall into sin because it's a failure for us. But really, we should be looking at it as, hey, my sin offends a holy God. And then he said, our second problem is that we have misunderstood living by faith. Okay, we're all about faith and not about works at all. And that's not the balance we see in Scripture. Okay? He said that we think that living by faith means that we have no effort at holiness, that no effort at holiness is required on our part. In fact, sometimes we have even suggested that any effort on our part is of the flesh. But he goes on to talk about how that's definitely not what the scriptures are saying. And then he says the third problem is that we do not take some sins seriously. We have mentally categorized sins into that which is unacceptable and that which may be tolerated a bit. Okay, so he tells some stories. It's really a very good book. So then as he was wrapping up the chapter, he's saying, okay, we're going to talk about each one of these areas as we go through the book. But he says, but before moving on, take time to settle these issues in your heart right now. Will you begin to look at sin as an offense against a holy God instead of as a personal defeat only? Will you begin to take personal responsibility for your sin, realizing that as you do, you must depend on the grace of God? And will you decide to obey God in all areas of life, however insignificant the issue may be? And his final little paragraph was, as we move on, we will first consider the holiness of God. This is where holiness begins, not with ourselves, but with God. It is only as we see his holiness, his absolute purity, and moral hatred of sin that we will be gripped by the awfulness of sin against the holy God. To be gripped by that fact is the first step in our pursuit of holiness. So, I'm very excited. I hope you will join us for the continued reading of this book, and you can find the foreword in the first chapter online already. And I hope you're enjoying our little walks together. I still have quite a ways to go because Tuesdays is my very busy day and I don't get home until late. So I'm doing it now. Y'all have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow. And this is Carla with Truth on a Treadmill. God bless.